Hey guys, welcome to 4G Fishing. We're here with Steve Dial, the owner of Bruiser Baits, Flat Out Tungstens, and Bass Addiction. And
Bass Addiction gear, yep.
Anything else? This
No,
boat?
1, 2, 3. We got them all three covered.
Well, he's got this boat, which is a nice legend.
Yeah.
How long have you had this, Steve?
2017, and then they went out of business in 2018, I believe.
Yeah. Well,
But nothing breaks on it, so we're good.
gorgeous boat, by the way.
Thank you.
Love the wrap. So, Steve,
Yes.
our market is going to be mostly kids and parents getting kids into fishing and keeping your whole family involved in fishing.
Love it.
What are some of your best memories growing up fishing with your dad?
Dad and Grandpa on the riverbanks of Kansas,
Yep.
on the farm ponds of Kansas. So coming to Florida, where we're at right now, where you're marketing, it's easy because I got chased by bulls, I got ran off by farmers, and no one took me fishing as much as I really wish they would.
Right.
My dad would drink and shoot into the river.
Right.
Times were tough.
Right. Well,
But
yeah,
I loved
kinda
every
scares-
minute of it.
It kind of scares the fish off, right?
Yeah. So, no, I loved every minute of it. They took me fishing. I got out, but when I came to Florida, you literally have the Mecca here, so you will have no issues getting them hooked on fishing. They just gotta take them to the water or walk to the water. One of the two.
Well, I remember fishing is kind of how our friendship started, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I remember I was working at a job site, and I just caught a 3 or 4 pounder, and Steve comes bounding out of the building. He was working on air conditioning in there, and
That's right.
he goes, "Wow, that's a good fish!" And that's how our friendship started. I mean, we fished tournaments together for 2 or 3 years after that.
Yes,
It
yes. I went from a spinning rod and the Zebco 33 days of the Midwest to, you had a Triton at the time, or progressed into a Triton.
Yep.
And we did local tournaments and then started fishing bigger stuff. I got, hook,
Yeah.
line, and sinker.
Yeah.
And I stayed in it to the point where here we are now making baits and playing. And I know you stayed in it and then
Backed
picked
out.
up a bowling ball, and life changed a little bit. But that's how we met.
Yeah, it
Back
was-
in the day.
Steve, the one thing I used to love the most about Steve was, out of all the people that fished me as a boater, Steve wanted to fish the whole time. I remember I would be sitting down in the boat and Steve would still be casting. I'm like, "Can we go? We're going to be late." Steve's like, one more cast, one more cast.
man. We're gonna catch
So that's the passion
Yeah.
that I want to try to pull out of some children. You know what I mean? I want kids to feel like that about fishing.
Right.
Just like, I mean, I feel the same way too, but at the end of the day, what we really want is to connect with people that have that light inside of them to go
Yes.
after what they want.
Yes, and not only that is, as well as I do nowadays, that if you don't maybe get them hooked on something positive early, they
Yep.
can tend to go real negative fast.
Exactly.
So we put a lot of influence with our staffing, with our college, our high school, our junior teams. We put a lot into it, and we give a lot to them because we want to set the standard the right way,
Right, and that's what
so they can be hooked on something positive instead of something negative.
this channel's all about, is bringing 4 generations of fishing together and instilling that love from top to bottom, and perpetuating the love of the outdoors
There you go.
and the love of fishing throughout not just our community, but who knows where else we can reach out to, right? I mean, I'm stuck on this. I can't stop it. I was away from it because I had so much going on in my
Sure.
life, and now that I'm back, I can
Yeah.
tell it's happening again. I'm looking at the baits back there, and I'm going, "Oh,
Yeah.
this is going to work," and the
Yeah,
wheels
yeah,
are
yeah.
turning.
Of course, it never leaves you. It may be on standby, but it never leaves
Right.
you.
So what is probably your best memory? And it doesn't have to be with your dad or your grandpa or whatever, but what's your best memory of fishing? Could it have been with maybe your son or your wife? Or...
Man, there's so many of them. I mean, you go back to fishing with my son, my Devin or Stevie. You go back to when they were just tiny. You go back, then you go back further and you think, man, well, they've come so far, and now they're competing against you. And they're getting amped up about the fishing. But then you go back, you take a step back and you go back. Your grandpa handing you, here's a worm on a pond bank.
Exactly.
Or
Cane pole.
Yeah, or cane poles or stink bait, and or catching that first fish. It's addicting. You know the old cliche, they got you hook, line, and sinker. It just sucks you in. And there's really no bad memories if you have positive people around you. You catch fish, you're happy. You really can't really have, even when you blow a motor or tear your trolling motor up in a tournament, those are going to happen. You just have to keep moving, because there's always the next cast, the next bite, the next tournament, the next time you go out. It's all positive for me. I really can't, even when I'm working 50 hours a week.
It's still getting out there early.
Exactly. You still get to go fishing, and then when you don't get to go fishing, you're making product for people
That get to go.
that get to go, and then they get to send you photos of what they caught
It's
on
almost
your
like
stuff.
you're catching that fish as well. You're catching that fish. And the funny thing is, you can't remember all the fish you caught, but you can remember the people you get in contact with. You know what I mean?
100%.
And you and I have been friends since that day. You said, "Hey man, that's a real nice fish."
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
And I've met some of the greatest people in the world through fishing. I remember probably my best memory is going fishing with Michael in a tournament one time. You got really sick and couldn't make it. You told me on a Thursday. We were fishing Fridays. Saturday, I grabbed Michael and we went out and won a buddy tournament off the west wall. He caught a 7-pounder. Didn't even know he had it hooked. So it was one of my
That's
best.
the camera guy.
It's one of my best days ever, remembering Michael catching big bass in a tournament with 30 boats in it. On Lake Okeechobee. I'll never forget it.
Never forget it.
Caught it on a pink
Thank you
fluke.
for getting sick. That was,
I rarely get sick too. So.
You're a positive influence on that date.
You're welcome, Mike.
Yeah, well, if it wasn't for that pink fluke, I wouldn't have caught it either. So,
Fluke.
You remember
Lord.
Pinky?
Oh Lord.
hey, that lure works great.
I can tell you right now, Steve hated Pinky
I didn't like it.
until I caught 3 5-pounders in a row, and Steve started grabbing my old.
Hey, I didn't like it either until I caught that bass.
Now I just want to recycle it and make it black. But anyway.
So let's talk about Bruiser Baits, bass addiction, and tungsten.
Right.
So, how did you come about becoming the major player in this?
Yeah, so it literally started off as, you know me, like you said, we met as, I'm just an AC guy.
Yep.
So we built a business in the air conditioning in Southwest Florida, and it was great, and did that for 20 years. But somewhere in between, we started playing around with making our own baits, like literally melting plastic down, buying a couple molds. Then we started catching fish on the baits.
Right.
One thing led to another. You start looking around and you're like, hey, let's make this better, let's make that better. And then somebody came to approach me with the people from Bruiser, and they said, you have a lot of passion for this. I was buying scrap plastic from them.
Right.
Why don't you entertain buying us? Okay, that sounds like fun. I got a little extra cash, let's do it. So, turned the AC cash into buying a business already established. Kept it over on the other coast, the East Coast, for a year. Ended up bringing it over here.
That must have been rough going through two jobs, right?
It was tough in that transition. It was tough because you had to I kind of sold everything, got rid of the AC business, or sold out, and said, you know what, I'm gonna make a run at it. So we kind of incorporated the bass addiction line with the Bruiser line. Then the flat out tungsten. I don't like tungsten that chips, and I don't like tungsten that frees your line. So we came out with something, a faster mousetrap, if you will, a better mousetrap.
Yeah, so let's go through that. How did that whole thing come about? You were out there fishing, you're going, man, I don't like this, and so what'd you end up doing? What was the light that turned on for you?
I hated shiny tungsten that frayed your line.
Right.
Just flat out could not have it. Flat out tungsten.
I know you
So-
love pitching. Steve pitches.
Yeah, I have an underhand addiction.
I'm surprised his elbow ain't tore up.
It is tore up actually from weightlifting, but it's still jacked. No, and I just, there's something about it. There's more. I like the contact.
Of course,
I like to go sumo wrestling with something 8 foot away from me.
Yeah, instead of trying to shoot him with a rifle.
Exactly. Versus sniper
Hand-to-hand combat versus sniper.
I'll do this, but I'd rather do this. So I use a lot of tungsten. Not a big crankbait guy, Use a lot of tungsten. Love it. So punch a lot of mats. Once again, can't stand it. And other people, why do we have tungsten that's painted, that's garbage, that ships this and another? So we figured out how to do it, stay black and flat forever.
And not for your line.
And not for your line. The rifling had to be good. So the flat out tungsten was born about 4 or 5 years ago, and so far it's done really, really well. It's grown considerably. I haven't had to market it a ton, but I have had some pros come along board with me, notably Brandon McMillan here locally in South Florida, that loves them.
Right.
He's a flipper. He's a mat man, maybe one of the best in the country at pitching and flipping. And he's a good spokesman for us, and it's going really good. I have no complaints, and it's doing really well for us. So
okay, so
on the gas.
On the bass addiction side and the bruiser side,
right.
One thing that you and I, through our conversations, talked about was most people don't know you can make just about any color you want. You can make custom baits.
Endless.
Right. So even though you got to buy 100 of them, which is, reasonable, you can get 100 birthday cake looking baits with candles in them for your daughter's Christmas party if you want.
That's right.
As long as you buy 100 of them.
Yeah,
and you make them right here, right here in your facility.
That's right. So we basically, and I've done other interviews with other people, whether it's some shows or radio, this, that, and another, a lot of store owners, and they ask me, why or how can you get away with making a 50 and 100 count run? We can go down to 50 in some runs and still stay in business. And I tell people, I have a hard time telling anglers no, they can't have a color.
Right.
Because there's a lot of other bait companies out there that say no, you can't.
Right.
I don't want to be that guy. So we can fill orders, 20, 30,000 bag orders. We can send stores. We have literal tons of baits that we can do stock colors.
Right.
Everybody's got a black, blue flake, right? But if you want that certain special color, if the mold is in-house, I can make it for you at a lower run, and I have a happy customer that did not get turned away.
Right, exactly. And that's, again, feeding the addiction to others. You
Correct.
know what I'm saying? So at the end
it lets them have their imagination and put it into a bait that I created, but it's their idea.
Right.
And they go out and catch fish on it. Guess what happens to their confidence? Skyrockets.
Yeah, and Steve gets pictures of these fish that these guys catch all the time.
All the time.
And it makes your day.
You have no idea.
It's worthy. It's worthy.
It's worthy. It's your paycheck. It's not a high prestige, high dollar.
Exactly.
Everything you see here was bought by air conditioning money. Trust me. Okay? If I pay my electric bill and don't cost my wife any money, wink wink, you know that story?
We know that story.
You know that story? Then I'm fine. And my son gets a paycheck.
Right. So at the end of the day, following your dream through fishing has made you a happier guy.
100%. Because I can make a color, and if it's 5 flakes off, I can handle that from a customer.
Right.
If a person calls you at 2 a.m. and their AC is broke, and you got hot mama,
right.
You see where I'm going with that? It's easier to deal with.
A little bit easier to kind of get
there you go.
Make somebody happy, right? Putting a smile on somebody's face.
Amen.
So at the end of the day, what's the direction that you foresee yourself going in? Now, do you want to get bigger? Do you like being the way it is? Because I know, just so you guys understand, Steve went and took a shower to be into this interview.
If I showed you the shirt before, you wouldn't recognize me.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So
making baits is a dirt man job.
But he loves it.
I love it. I love it. I swear.
But do you see yourself getting to be, let's just say, like a Guggen or a Zoom or?
Yeah. So here's I think about that more than most people. Most people just say, "Hey, you're Bruiser. You have your niche in the market. You're doing well. This, that, and another." To be honest with you, I think of it kind of both ways. You think of it in one way and you go, this is all I need to survive. Why go crazy? Try to make it bigger. But then the business person inside of you says, I can make it bigger. I'm going to have to work through some things. I'm going to have to make, certain business decisions. Still, don't lose the fact that you want to get your hands dirty a little bit. You want to get in the trenches. You want to feel, see. You want to be an angler with your customers.
Right.
And that probably keeps me right in the middle. Like, if it grows, it's growing organically as it is. I don't want to make it any smaller. So it's probably going to progressively grow kind of as the demand goes. But I don't say to myself, I want to conquer the world and be at the very top. I know that sounds crazy, but I only have X amount of time left in the world on the earth. And I've already drove myself crazy once doing something else.
And happy is its own monetary donation, right?
Happy and time have extreme value to me right
Extreme
now
value.
versus chasing a dollar all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, going fishing with your dad, going fishing with your grandpa, brought you to where you are now, working with your son every day.
Yep.
And doing something that you just can't wait to get out of bed to do.
That's right. I don't ever come to work and go, man, this is horrible. I don't do that. I walk to my house or to my shop now. My house, it's on our property. And I think of, the business mind is always turning. I got to get these orders out. I got to do this. I got to make these baits. I got to make this person happy. But at the end of the day, you don't stress. It's really just not there to stress
Right,
out
exactly.
about and just freak out about. It doesn't.
And you're not
kill
worrying that you're getting a call at 2 a.m. Now I wanted to tell you something.
You do
Steve
not.
didn't walk over here. He's got a golf cart he rode from his house.
Yeah, it's like
You won't
12
see Steve
feet.
walking farther than from the seat of this boat to the front of it. You know what I'm saying?
You set up on a fish, take about 6 steps backwards.
Right.
That's about
That's
it.
a lot of walking.
It's a lot of walking.
He bought a
Alright,
golf.
guys.
He bought a golf cart just to go 20 feet.
Steve Dial from Bruiser Baits, Bass Addiction, and Flat Out Tungstens.
That's right.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Thank you.